I used to think peace was something you earned after a long life of bad decisions. Turns out, it's something your parents can take away with one emotional phone call. My life was simple before all this. Wake up with sunlight instead of alarms, drink tea on a creaky wooden porch, argue with chickens like they were coworkers who never pulled their weight. The country house wasn't fancy, but it was mine. Every dent in the wall had a story. Every tree had a memory. Even the broken fence had personality. It leaned like it had given up on life, which honestly made it relatable. And then my parents called. "Your sister needs help," my mother said in that tone that sounds like a request but feels like a court order. "She needs stability," my father added, which was ironic because my sister changed hobbies more often than I changed socks. What they really meant was, "You have something peaceful." "She doesn't. Fix it." I laughed at first. A genuine, full-bodied laugh. I thought it was a joke. A bad one, but still a joke. "You want me to what?" I asked. "Sell the house," my mother said calmly, like she was asking me to pass the salt. "And use the money to buy her an apartment in the city." I remember staring at my phone like it had personally betrayed me. "This house is my life," I said. "It's everything I've built." "And she's your sister," my father replied. "Ah, yes. The ultimate argument. The emotional equivalent of flipping a table and walking out. I tried logic. That didn't work. I tried sarcasm. That made it worse. I even tried silence, but apparently silence in our family is just an invitation for louder guilt. "She's struggling," my mother continued. "Don't you care about her future?" Of course I cared. I just didn't understand why caring meant sacrificing my entire present. Meanwhile, my sister was in the background of the call, occasionally adding helpful comments like, "I don't need anything too big, just something modern. And with a good view. And safe. And near everything." So, everything. Days passed. The calls didn't stop. The guilt didn't stop. At one point, my mother actually said, "We didn't raise you to be selfish." Which is impressive considering they also raised my sister, who once returned a gift because it didn't match her aesthetic. Eventually, I broke. Not dramatically. No shouting, no slamming doors. Just a quiet moment where I realized that resisting them would cost more energy than surrendering. And honestly, I was tired. "Fine," I said. That one word felt heavier than the entire house. The next step was selling it. That part felt surreal, like I was watching someone else make terrible decisions using my body. That's when she showed up. The agent, or maybe the buyer, I wasn't entirely sure at first, walked onto the property like she already understood it better than most people ever would. She didn't have that fake enthusiasm most agents carry, the kind that makes you want to hide your valuables. She was calm, observant, and annoyingly perceptive. "You don't actually want to sell this place, do you?" she said after about 30 seconds. Straight to the point. No warm-up. No polite lies. "Is it that obvious?" I replied. "You're standing like someone at a funeral," she said. "But instead of a person, it's your house." I looked at her, trying to decide if I should be offended or impressed. "Family pressure," I admitted. She nodded like she'd heard that story 100 times before. "Let me guess. You're the responsible one. That obvious too?" She smirked slightly. "You're here. You're cooperating. That already tells me everything." There was something about the way she said it, no pity, no judgment. Just understanding. It was refreshing, and slightly dangerous, because it made me want to talk more. "Selling my peace to buy someone else's comfort," I said. "Sounds like a bad trade," she replied. "Yeah, well, I'm apparently very generous." She laughed softly at that, and for a moment, the whole situation didn't feel as heavy. We walked around the property together. I pointed out things that probably didn't matter to a buyer: the tree that leaned just enough to give perfect shade in the afternoon, the spot where the ground stayed cool even in summer, the fence that had survived more storms than it deserved. "You're saying goodbye?" she said at one point. I'm trying not to, I replied. Doesn't look like you're succeeding. There. As the process moved forward, she handled everything with efficiency that felt almost unfair. Papers, calls, negotiations, it all blurred together. Meanwhile, my sister was sending me apartment listings like she was shopping for shoes. This one has a balcony, she texted. This one has a gym. This one has a cafe downstairs. I stared at the messages while sitting on my porch, surrounded by actual open space, fresh air, and silence. But sure, a downstairs cafe was clearly the upgrade. The final day came faster than I expected. I walked through the house one last time. Touched the walls, opened windows I had opened 1,000 times before, stood in the doorway longer than necessary. This is ridiculous, I muttered to myself. It's just a house. But it wasn't. It was mornings without noise. Nights without interruptions. A life where I didn't have to explain myself to anyone. Outside, I paused near the fence. Even that useless, leaning thing felt like it deserved an apology. Sorry, I said quietly. Yeah, I was talking to a fence. At that point, I had nothing left to lose. When I finally left, I didn't look back. Not because I didn't want to, but because I knew if I did, I might not leave at all. The city hit differently. Loud. Crowded. Restless. The apartment building stood tall and polished, like it was trying very hard to impress people who didn't matter. My sister was already there, practically vibrating with excitement. This is perfect, she said the moment she saw it. Oh my God, you did such a good job. I hadn't even done anything yet, but sure, I'd take the temporary appreciation. We stepped inside, and immediately something felt off. Not obviously wrong. Just small things. A strange noise echoing from somewhere above. A door down the hall slamming harder than necessary. Someone arguing loudly in the distance about something that sounded incredibly unimportant. Did you hear that? I asked. Hear what? My sister said, already too busy imagining her new life to notice reality. Another sound, this time music. Loud, energetic, and completely out of place for the middle of the day. I glanced around the hallway. A door opened briefly, and a man peeked out, looking at us like we were part of a conspiracy he hadn't fully figured out yet. New? He asked. Yeah, I replied cautiously. He nodded slowly, like that confirmed something important. Be careful. The walls listen. And then he closed the door. I stood there for a second, processing that. Okay, I said. My sister didn't even react. She was already unlocking the apartment door, stepping inside, and spinning around like she had just entered a dream. This is amazing, she said again. I looked around the place. It was clean, modern, and completely lifeless. No history. No personality. Just walls and furniture waiting to be used. Another loud thud echoed from somewhere nearby, followed by distant shouting. I sighed. Somewhere deep down, I felt it, the beginning of something. Not peace. Not relief. Something else. Something chaotic. And for the first time since selling the house, I smiled just a little. If there's one thing I learned in the first 10 minutes of being inside that apartment building, it's this: peace in the city isn't something you lose, it's something that never existed in the first place. My sister was still spinning in the middle of the living room like she'd just unlocked an achievement in life. Look at this lighting, she said, holding up her phone like she was already planning photos. This is perfect. I can finally start posting consistently. Posting what? I asked. My life, she replied, as if that explained anything. I looked around again. The place was decent, sure. Clean lines, modern furniture, a balcony that overlooked more buildings. It felt like living inside a catalog. Everything looked right, but nothing felt real. Then came the noise. A sharp, sudden bang from above. Not just loud, aggressive. Like someone had dropped a bowling ball out of pure anger. My sister flinched slightly. Probably just someone moving furniture. Yeah, I said slowly. With gravity as a weapon. Before she could respond, music blasted through the wall to our right. Not background music, full volume, energetic, the kind that made your chest vibrate slightly. And then a voice. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My sister froze. Is that live? She whispered. Sounds like it, I replied. Today we're doing a 24-hour no-sleep challenge. I blinked. That explains the energy. The voice didn't stop. It got louder. More dramatic. There was clapping, laughing, something crashing, and then more shouting. My sister forced a smile. It's fine. People have hobbies. Yeah, I said. And apparently microphones. We hadn't even unpacked a single box. A knock came at the door. I opened it, and there he was, the guy from the hallway. He looked even more suspicious up close. Not dangerous, just intensely alert. Like he hadn't trusted a wall since 2007. You need to be careful, he said immediately, leaning slightly closer. They monitor new arrivals. Who does? I asked. He glanced left. Then right. Then leaned in even closer. Everyone. I stared at him. That clears it up, I said. He nodded seriously, completely missing the sarcasm. Good. You understand. Then he handed me a small piece of paper. What's this? Safe times to talk, he whispered. Avoid water usage between 2 and 4 a.m. That's when they listen the most. Through the pipes? He didn't answer. Just gave me a look like I was asking beginner-level questions. Also, he added, if you hear 3 knocks from the ceiling, don't respond. Why? He paused. I'm still figuring that out. And then he walked away. I closed the door slowly. My sister was staring at me. What did he want? Apparently, we're being watched through plumbing. She laughed nervously. Okay, weird neighbor. Every building has one. Let's hope it's just one. Right on cue, the shouting next door got louder. Guys, we just hit 10,000 views. Something hit the wall so hard our picture frame tilted. My sister winced. Okay, maybe 2 weird neighbors. Minimum, I said. The next hour was a slow realization that this place had layers. Not good ones. Every time we thought things had settled, something new would happen. Footsteps running above us. Not walking, running. Back and forth, like someone was training for a marathon in their living room. Then shouting from the other side of the hallway. You ate my food again. I thought it was mine. How do you think my food is your food? Doors slammed. Something shattered. Then silence. Then more arguing. My sister sat on the couch, slowly losing the excitement she walked in with. It's just the first day, she said, mostly to herself. Of course, I replied. It can only get better. Another crash upstairs. Right? She added. I didn't answer. By evening, she had unpacked just enough to pretend everything was normal. A few decorations, some neatly arranged items, her phone constantly in hand. Meanwhile, I was sitting near the window, observing the chaos like it was some kind of live documentary. At one point, the music next door stopped. Silence. Beautiful, rare silence. My sister smiled. See? It's already calming down. I opened my mouth to respond. Hey guys, we're back. The music returned. Louder. She closed her eyes. Okay, she said slowly. Maybe not yet. There was another knock on the door. I hesitated this time. What if it's the pipe guy again? My sister whispered. Only one way to find out, I said, opening it. And there she was. The same woman from the country house. She leaned casually against the doorframe, looking completely unaffected by the chaos around her. Well, she said, glancing past me into the apartment. You survived the first few hours. That's impressive. You knew, I said immediately. Knew what? That this place was this. She smiled slightly. I said it was interesting. That's not a warning. That's a trap. She laughed softly. If I warned you properly, you wouldn't have bought it. There. My sister appeared behind me, instantly switching to her polite and put together mode. Oh, hi, she said, smiling. Are you a neighbor? Something like that, the woman replied. I live a few floors down. Do you hear all this too? My sister asked carefully. The woman tilted her head, listening as another distant argument started somewhere in the building. Sometimes, she said. I raised an eyebrow. Sometimes? You get used to it, she added. That's not comforting. It's not supposed to be. There was a brief silence between us, filled with distant music and someone yelling about missing socks. She looked at me again. Still think this was a good trade? I leaned against the doorframe. Ask me again in a week. Right now, I'm still processing the man who thinks water pipes are spies. She smiled at that. Ah, you met him. Good. That means you're officially part of the building now. Great. Do I get a certificate? No, she said. Just insomnia. My sister let out a small, stressed laugh. It's not that bad, she said, trying to convince herself more than anyone else. I mean, it's modern. And the location is perfect. Right then, something slammed so hard upstairs that dust fell from the ceiling. We all looked up. That was aggressive, the woman admitted. My sister crossed her arms. It's fine. I just need time to adjust. I nodded slowly. Yeah. Adjustment. The woman glanced between us, clearly amused. Well, she said, stepping back. Welcome to the building. Try not to lose your sanity too quickly. No promises, I replied. She gave me one last look, half teasing, half curious, and then walked away. I closed the door again. My sister turned to me. Do you think it's too late to fix anything? She asked quietly. I looked around the apartment. The noise. The walls. The life she had been so excited about just hours ago. Then I looked at her. For the first time, there was doubt. I leaned back against the wall, crossing my arms. I don't know, I said. And for some reason, I was starting to enjoy this a little more than I probably should have. By the second day, the building stopped feeling like a place and started feeling like a living organism, loud, unpredictable, and somehow always awake. I woke up on the couch to the sound of footsteps above me. Not normal footsteps. These were fast, aggressive, back-and-forth sprints like someone had decided cardio was best done directly over my skull. I checked my phone. 6:12 a.m. Of course, I muttered. From the other side of the wall, the influencer's voice cut through the morning like an alarm that had taken personality steroids. Good morning, guys, we're still going strong, no sleep challenge. I stared at the ceiling. She's still going? I whispered to myself. A loud thud answered me. Somewhere down the hall, a door slammed. Then the familiar couple started again. You promised you wouldn't do that again. I didn't think it would matter. IT always matters. I sat up slowly, running a hand over my face. Peace. I used to wake up to birds. Now I woke up to arguments about things I didn't even understand. My sister walked out of the bedroom looking like she had just fought a war in her dreams and lost. You hear that? She asked, her voice flat. No, I said. I thought this was all in my head. She glared at me. Okay, yes, I added. I hear everything. She dropped onto the chair across from me, hair messy, eyes tired. I didn't sleep, she said. Really? I slept like a baby, I replied. If babies were raised in construction zones. She ignored that. There was noise all night. The music, the shouting, the footsteps, and at one point I swear someone knocked on the wall 3 times. I paused. Did you knock back? I asked. No. Good, I said. Apparently that's a bad idea. She stared at me. What? Pipe guy's instructions. She closed her eyes. I hate this place. There it was. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just tired and honest. I leaned back, watching her. Already? I said. You were in love with it yesterday. That was before I realized I'd be sharing walls with chaos. Technically, chaos is free. It comes with the apartment. She didn't laugh. That was new. Before I could say anything else, the music next door suddenly stopped. Silence. Real, actual silence. We both froze. Is it over? She whispered. I held my breath. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. And then. Guys, we did IT. 24 hours no sleep. The music came back even louder than before. My sister dropped her head into her hands. I can't do this, she said. I stood up slowly, stretching. You wanted city life, I reminded her. Not like this. I walked to the window, looking out at the endless rows of buildings. No space. No quiet. Just life stacked on top of life. Well, I said casually, this is the premium version. She looked up at me. You're enjoying this, aren't you? I turned slightly, pretending to think about it. I wouldn't say enjoying, I said. I'd say appreciating the irony. Her eyes narrowed. You're enjoying it. I smiled faintly. Maybe I was. Not because I wanted her to suffer, but because for the first time, I wasn't the only one dealing with the consequences of a decision I didn't make. Before she could argue, there was a loud knock on the door. We both looked at it. Your turn, she said. Why is it always my turn? Because you opened it last time. That's not how logic works. The knock came again. I sighed and walked over, opening the door. It was her. The same woman from before, leaning casually like she belonged in the chaos. You both look terrible, she said immediately. Good morning to you too, I replied. She stepped inside without waiting for permission, glancing around like she was inspecting damage. First night? She asked. Barely survived, I said. She looked at my sister. You! I hate it, she said instantly. The woman nodded. That's the normal reaction. My sister blinked. Normal? Everyone loves it on day 1, she said. By day 2, reality shows up. That's comforting, I muttered. She turned to me, studying my face for a second. You don't look surprised, she said. I adapt quickly, I replied. Or you expected this. That too. She smiled slightly. I noticed it again, that calm confidence. Like none of this bothered her. Or maybe she just knew how to exist inside it without letting it take over. How do you deal with it? I asked. With the building? Yeah. She shrugged. You stop fighting it. Or you learn how to use it. I raised an eyebrow. Use it? She didn't explain. Instead, she walked over to the window, standing next to me. For a moment, it was quiet between us. Not outside, never outside, but between us. You miss it, don't you? She said softly. The house? I asked. She nodded. I exhaled slowly. Yeah, I admitted. More than I thought I would. She glanced at me. Then why did you sell it? Family, I said. She made a small face. Dangerous word. Tell me about it. There was a pause. Then she smiled again, lighter this time. At least you got a good story out of it. Still in progress, I said. Behind us, my sister groaned as another loud crash echoed from upstairs. I can't live like this, she said. The woman looked at her, then back at me. She won't last a week, she said quietly. I'm starting to think she won't last a day, I replied. My sister pointed at us. I can hear you. Good, I said. Transparency is important. She stood up, pacing slightly. I mean it, she said. I can't do this. The noise, the people, the whatever that man was talking about yesterday. The pipe surveillance expert? I offered. Yes. Him. As if summoned, there was a faint knock from somewhere in the walls. 3 taps. We all froze. My sister slowly turned toward me. That's not funny, she whispered. I didn't do that, I said. The woman crossed her arms, clearly trying not to laugh. Welcome to the building, she said. My sister looked like she was about to lose her mind. And that's when it happened. She stopped pacing, stopped talking, and just exhaled. I hate it, she said again, quieter this time. I really hate it. No attitude. No excuses. Just honesty. I watched her for a moment. Then I nodded. Yeah, I said. I know. For the first time, she didn't argue back. And somewhere in the middle of all that noise, all that chaos, something shifted. Not in the building. That was still a disaster. But in us. Because for the first time since this whole thing started, she understood. And for the first time, I wasn't the only one carrying it. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed, listening to the madness around us. The shouting. The music. The footsteps. All of it blending into one constant, ridiculous soundtrack. And strangely enough, I felt calmer than I had in days. Not because things were better, but because I finally wasn't alone in seeing how bad they really were. By the 3rd day, I stopped trying to understand the building. That was my first real breakthrough. You don't question chaos. You don't reason with it. You either survive it, or you learn how to aim it. And I was done surviving. I woke up before the noise started that morning. Not because it was quiet, because my brain had adjusted to expect the storm. There's a strange kind of clarity that comes when you stop hoping things will get better. My sister was already awake, sitting on the couch, staring into nothing like she had just watched her expectations die in real time. I didn't sleep again, she said without looking at me. Consistency is important, I replied, walking past her. She didn't even react to the sarcasm this time. Progress. I poured myself some tea, leaning casually against the counter while the building slowly came alive again. Footsteps above. A faint argument warming up somewhere down the hall. The distant hum of the influencer preparing to ruin another day. My sister finally looked at me. I can't do this anymore, she said. There it was. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just final. I took a slow sip of tea. Okay, I said. She blinked. Okay? Yeah. Okay. You're not going to argue? Or say I should have thought about this before? She asked. Oh, I thought about it, I said. A lot. But I think you've experienced enough practical learning. She stared at me, trying to figure out if I was being serious. I want to leave, she said. I know. There was a pause. So what do we do? She asked. That's when I smiled. Not big. Not obvious. Just enough. We solve it, I said. Before she could ask what that meant, the building kicked into full chaos mode. Right on schedule. Hey guys, today we're doing a new challenge. The influencer's voice blasted through the wall. Above us, footsteps started running again. And like a perfect background soundtrack, the couple down the hall exploded into another argument. You always do this. Because you always start it. That doesn't even make sense. I set my cup down. Step 1, I said calmly. We stop treating this like a problem. My sister crossed her arms. It is a problem. Not anymore, I replied. It's a tool. She blinked. A tool? I nodded toward the wall. You see chaos. I see opportunity. She looked at me like I had finally lost my mind. Explain. I leaned back, completely relaxed now. This building doesn't function normally, I said. Which means normal solutions won't work. But the people here? They're predictable. Predictable? She repeated. Yeah. The influencer is loud, constant, and desperate for attention. The couple fights about everything. And the conspiracy guy. I paused. Honestly, he's a bonus feature. She slowly started to understand that I had a plan. And? She asked. And we use them. I said simply. The first step was easy. Timing. By midday, the building was in peak activity mode. Noise everywhere. People active. Energy high. Perfect. I walked over to the influencer's door and knocked. The music stopped for a second. Then the door flew open. Hey guys, we've got a she said, lowering her camera slightly when she saw me. Hi. Hi. I said. Quick question. She tilted her head, still half in performance mode. Yeah? Would you be interested in filming a real-life apartment chaos challenge? I asked. Her eyes lit up instantly. Wait, like real reactions? Real people? She said. Very real. I replied. She grinned. That sounds amazing. Great, I said. Because I know exactly where to start. Step 2. I walked down the hall and knocked on the couple's door. It opened mid-argument. What do you want? The guy snapped. I think she's right, I said immediately. They both froze. What? He asked. I heard everything. I continued confidently. She's clearly right. The woman folded her arms, suddenly interested. See? The guy looked offended. You don't even know what we're talking about. I don't need to, I said. It's obvious. That was enough. Argument reignited. Louder than before. Step 3. I casually mentioned to the conspiracy guy that something big was being recorded in the building and that they might be monitoring reactions. That was all it took. Within minutes, the entire floor was in controlled chaos. The influencer started filming everything, narrating like it was the greatest content of her life. The couple argued at full volume, now aware they had an audience. And the conspiracy guy was pacing the hallway, warning people about surveillance while somehow making everything even louder. My sister stood in the middle of the apartment, watching it all unfold. What are you doing? She asked. I walked back inside, completely calm. Solving your problem, I said. How is this solving anything? She demanded. Because now, I said, gesturing around, this place is exactly what it is. Loud. Chaotic. Unlivable. She blinked. And now you don't feel like you failed. I continued. The place failed. She stared at me. Slowly, very slowly, she started to smile. That's actually kind of genius. I know, I said. The noise outside reached a new peak. The influencer shouted, This is insane. Real people, real drama. The couple yelled over each other. The conspiracy guy knocked on random doors. My sister laughed. Actually laughed. I can't believe I thought this was a good idea, she said. I leaned against the wall. Happens. She looked at me, her expression softer now. I'm sorry, she said. I raised an eyebrow. For what? For everything, she said. For pushing you. For not listening. For taking your life and turning it into this. The noise faded into the background for a moment. Not literally. Just less important. I shrugged lightly. You learned, I said. That's enough. She nodded. I'll figure something out, she said. Something smaller. Something I can actually handle. Good, I replied. And you? She asked. I smiled slightly. I think I've had enough city life. Right then, there was a knock on the door. I opened it. She was there. Leaning casually, like always, completely unfazed by the chaos behind her. I see you've stopped resisting, she said. I've upgraded to strategy, I replied. She glanced past me, watching the madness unfold. Impressive, she admitted. I stepped out into a hallway with her, closing the door behind me. For a moment it was just us. You were right, I said. You don't fight this place. No, she said. You survive it. Or you use it. I used it, I said. She smiled. I noticed. There was a pause. Then she tilted her head slightly. So what now? She asked. I looked down the hallway, then back at her. I'm thinking of going back to something quieter, I said. Maybe not the same place, but something like it. She considered that. That sounds nice. It is, I said. You should try it sometime. She laughed softly. Maybe I will. There was something in the way she said it. Not a joke. Not entirely serious either. Just open. I stepped a little closer. You know, I said, it's a lot better when you're not alone. She met my gaze, that same calm confidence in her eyes. Are you asking? She said slowly. Or suggesting? Both, I replied. The noise behind us continued, loud, ridiculous, endless. But right there, in that small space between us, it didn't matter. She smiled. Maybe I'll come see this quiet life of yours, she said. I'll hold you to that. From inside the apartment, my sister shouted, I'm definitely leaving. I glanced back at the door, then at her. Good timing, I said. Very, she replied. I exhaled, feeling lighter than I had in days. Maybe I lost the house. Maybe I lost the peace I had. But I didn't lose everything. And honestly, watching my sister finally understand, fixing the situation on my terms, and somehow walking away with something new. Yeah. Not a bad trade after all.